In today's video, I'm going to talk about when to promote your prospects in out-of-the-park baseball. Also, quick shout out to the bird just outside my window who's been chirping his head off the last few minutes. If you hear him, he's just chiming in on what we're talking about here. So those of you who watched my out-of-the-park 21 videos may have watched my two-part tutorial on player development in the minor leagues where I cover some of this information that I'm going to talk about today. But the purpose of doing another video on prospects and when to promote them is one, to streamline some of that info, but also to provide a look at more prospects. I think part of learning how to manage and handle prospects in your minor leagues is repetition. So the more you manage your minor league system, the more confident and comfortable you'll be doing so. So I thought it would be helpful to talk through more prospects and streamline some of the information, put it all in this video and update it for 22. So for today, we're going to be looking at the Dodgers minor league system. I just started a sim and simmed it until mid-July, so we would have some data to look at on players, and then I could talk through how I would evaluate those players and what I would do with them. So we're going to go first to the Dodgers player development tab and take a look at a few of their top prospects. We're going to start with Josiah Gray, who you can see here is ranked as the 27th best prospect in baseball. He's the Dodgers' top ranked prospect here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to his pitching stats tab. And previous seasons here are helpful, but they're more helpful when they're seasons within out of the park, not real life. Because sometimes the game can have a different take on a player than what these real life stats might tell you about them. The scouting might be different. So it's just for consistency's sake, it's more helpful when these are out of the park seasons. But when they're real life seasons, they're also helpful, but just maybe not quite as helpful. So with Josiah Gray, in previous seasons, you can see he did not pitch anywhere in 2020. He was at the alternate site, I'm assuming. And obviously with no minor league baseball, he didn't pitch in the majors. But in 2019, he cleared 3 levels. He was an A, then high A, then double A, and he was really quite good in all of them. So the game so far in 2021, he has gone up and down between double A and the majors. He has continued to be really good at double A, and he's really struggled in the majors. So now let's go over to his profile, and you can see, like we looked at in that last, so we've got a dog chirping in the background too. I don't know if you guys can hear that. We've got his double A stats here, and he's been really good. His ERA is 0.84. That won't last, but his FIP is still 3. Very good. He's not walking many people at all. His strikeouts are decent. His strikeout to walk ratio is very good. His home runs per 9 is very good. So BABIP is probably going to come up. ERA is going to come up, but still a very good player. Even by FIP standards, he's a 71 FIP minus. So that really 29% above league average in FIP is quite good. And if you're questioning some of these stats, I do have a video about pitching stats that matter and why these are the stats I use. But let's talk about Josiah Gray here. Really struggled at the majors, was very good at double A in 2019, and has now been really dominant at double A in 2021. So up here, we're going to look at the scouting. And again, those of you who watch my other videos know that I say pay attention to this last after stats and the ratings. But still, this summary, the overall potential, can still be a guide that you use. Don't ignore it completely. And it's especially helpful when looking at these ratings relative to, which I'll get into in a minute. But you can see relative to the major league, which is the default setting for this dropdown, he's got fine enough stuff. Movement is okay. And control is really good. Fastball is possibly going to become excellent, and he's also got a really good slider. Curveball you can get away with. Changeup doesn't really seem to be much use to him. So let's look at how he fares relative to double A, where he is. He's in the double A Central League. You can see our scout thinks he is right now an average starter in this league. Now, his results obviously say different than that, and really so does his stuff is above average, his control is excellent, his movement is just below average, and then he's got 2 really good pitches and 1 that's slightly below average. He's got 3 pitches he can use effectively. This is a good pitcher at this level, according to our scouts, and the stats tell us he's probably too good for this level. So I would probably have Josiah Gray in AAA. So I'm assuming that their AAA team is in the AAA West League, the PCL. And you can see, the scout overall drops into a 40, but he's still got two really good pitches and a fine third pitch. Control and stuff, both are still above average, and his movement is still fine. So given how he's performed at AA and what our scout thinks of him as a AAA pitcher, I would have him in AAA starting. And one thing that's helpful to do when you bring up a guy to the majors, which it looks like they were doing with him, was having him pitch in relief. I think that's probably because it gives a player more experience before he's in the starting rotation. But I find I've had more success with pitching prospects in the major leagues when I bring them up and have them be maybe a long man or some sort of reliever for half a season or a season before throwing them right into the rotation. I don't follow that every time, but in general, that's my ideal. So Josiah Gray, for those reasons, I would have in AAA because he's mastered AA, and it seems like he's good enough to pitch in AAA according to our scout too. So we're 2 for 2 on the two ways that we're evaluating him. Once you're done with this ratings relative to, flip it back to Major League, or else it'll stick at that league for everybody in your organization until you change it back. So that is Josiah Gray. Now we're going to go back here and we're going to look at Andy Pages. And he's Cuban. Maybe I'm not saying his name right, so somebody can let me know if it's not pronounced Pages. But he is a 20-year-old, and he was signed as an international free agent in 2017 when he was probably like 16 years old. And he played in rookie ball level for 2018 and 2019, and he did really well. So 2020 he didn't play, and now here he is in 2021 in A ball, what they call low A West, and he is ripping the cover off the ball. 278 plate appearances, 155 OPS plus, 154 WRC plus. He's walking in 20% of his plate appearances. This is a guy who is crushing this level. Let's go and see his ratings relative to this level. Again, he's in the low A West. Yeah, he's an elite player at this level. He needs to go up a level. I would say he probably could go up even 2, but I don't like to skip levels. Even if I only have a guy at a level for a month or 2, I still like to see them perform at each level without skipping one. So say he would go to the high A Central League from here. He's still a really good player in this league. Overall, it looks like our scout thinks he's a little bit below average, but with this kind of home run and gap power and average contact, I think he'd still be excellent at this level. So what I would focus on is I would promote him to high A, and then I would give him some time in left field because he can probably become about as good in left field as he is in right with these ratings. And while he's not going to be a guy you really want in center field, if you play him some in center field, if you can sacrifice some results from your minor league outfield defense, you might be able to get him up to maybe a 35 or a 40, to where if he's on your major league team in a few years and you need a center fielder to give somebody a day off, or somebody gets hurt during a game, you just need a dude to play some innings in center field, he wouldn't be a total disaster out there if you give him some experience. Not a guy playing center field regularly with just the 50 range, but in the minor leagues, I would be trying to get him as bumped up as high as possible in all 3 of these ratings. So he doesn't need to be in this low A West League anymore. He should go up to high A. And honestly, there's only a month or 2 left in the season, so he'd probably finish the season there. But if he dominates it again, next year I'd start him at AA at the age of 21. So that's Andy Pages. Let's take a look at one more dude. Let's take a look at their third top 100 prospect, Bobby Miller. And again, I didn't change this back, so let's change this back to Major League. This guy is a 40 overall potential, which really suggests to me that our scout thinks he's maybe a 5th starter. Let's see what the scout says in terms of his role. Projects to be a spot starter. So this guy could always grow to be better than he is now, but as of now, he's a pretty fringe major league guy. Maybe a bullpen arm, maybe a 5th starter, unless he improves on what he's got going on here. So just a little history on this dude. He was drafted by the Dodgers in the first round of the 2020 draft, and then obviously didn't play anywhere in 2020. And as a 22-year-old, they put him straight into high A, which age-wise, that makes some sense to me. I don't think that's crazy, but based off of his ratings and how he's performed, I'm not sure I would have had him here. You can see so far he's put up a 4.74 ERA plus a 4.25 FIP, which he's 8% worse than the league average in FIP. With that is what this 108 FIP minus tells us. And he's about 17% below league average in ERA with a 4.74. So he's not getting shelled here, but he's walking 5.7 guys per 9, and his strikeout to walk ratio is just 9.2%. So, or strikeout to walk percentage, I should say. So, I don't know. Let's see what he is. High A Central. Yeah, I mean, again, don't pay. This 25 isn't the end of the world, but that is really low because we want to look more at the stats in this. But this is as a jumping point saying, like, yeah, he might be in over his head in this league. And you can see here, all three of stuff, movement, and control are below average, and the control really suffers, which is why he's got 5.7 walks per 9. He's got 2 above average pitches and 1 just below average pitch for this league. So there he's looking pretty solid, but I don't know. I probably would have started this guy down in low A. So there he's looking like he could be I mean, the overall says he's below average still, but with average stuff, above average movement, and below average control, and then 2 above average pitches, I think he would have been solid there. I would have liked to have seen him start the year there, even though he is 22 and, a little old for that level maybe. I would have still probably started him there if I took over this Dodgers team at the beginning of the season, was managing their minor leagues, which I wasn't. I just jumped into this one. So one more thing I would say to keep in mind, I'm going to switch this back to MLB, is keep an eye on this role on team thing. So it says he's very unhappy with his role on team, which can sometimes indicate that player's not happy that he hasn't been promoted. Now, with Bobby Miller, I think you'd be crazy to promote him another level, say to the AA Central. He's just going to get shelled because he's not even pitching that well in high A. But sometimes you might have a player where the ratings say, he's in high A, right? He's in high A Central. Sometimes you might run into a guy that's like, man, it looks like he should be good in this high A Central, and this overall rating might be higher, and his ratings might be higher, but he's just not doing anything stats-wise. If you look at his role on team, he's unhappy. It might be that he's not performing well because he's unhappy still at that level. I wouldn't say do that every time you have a guy who is unhappy with his role on team and you can't understand why he's not performing well at a level, but do factor it in. Fans of my Out of the Park 21 series might remember my franchise shortstop for several seasons, or my longtime shortstop, Gunnar Henderson. He really wasn't great at a couple levels in the minor leagues, and it's because he was pissed that he was at those levels. And when I finally promoted him to the major leagues, he was a much better player. So you'll run into that sometime. Check out the role on the team sometimes to explain why a player is performing below what you think he would. Again, not something you want to use all on its own, not something you want to use every time, but a factor to consider when a guy is underperforming. So I hope talking through these things was helpful. Managing the minor leagues is one of the more fun aspects of the game for me, but it's also one that takes time to learn, and you'll probably do a lot of trial and error. I remember last year when I made my first video, I forgot to highlight the ratings relative to things. So, I go back and forth with how I evaluate guys too. I try different things. I tweak different things, because really that's how you're going to learn to do it, is to be willing to get stuff wrong, but sometimes getting stuff right by trying new things. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys for the next video.